Hey everyone, welcome back to a new session on getting started with C# programming. We have already covered two videos or two modules of this particular crash course in our previous sessions. And in this session, we are going to cover our third module. Uh, Before we get started, let's give a recap on what we have learned in the last session. In our last session, we talked about variables, we talked about data types, the different data types that we can use. And in this session, we are going to talk about something about conditional statements and loops. So if you are not checked out the previous two videos, you can check them out in our playlist. So let's get started with this third module. So this is our agenda for this session. First of all, we are going to cover conditional statements, where we will see how we can use if, how we can do decision making using if, how we can use else, how we can use else if, and how we can use switch case. And then we are going to cover loops. We are going to see how we can avoid repetitive coding, how we can use for loop for that, how we can use while loop, and what is do while and how we can use that. So let's get started. So first of all, we are going to see what are conditional statements. So if we talk about conditional statements, what are they? Basically, when we talk about conditional statements, they help us to perform some code based on decisions. Like if you want to run your code, or we can say if you want your code to make decisions based on what the user is giving or what input you are receiving from the user. So at that time, we can use conditional statements. Take a simple example. Let's say you go to some particular e-commerce website or any other website or any other social media website. So that website first asks you for your login credentials. So if your login credentials are correct, you pass your username and password. If they are correct, only then the particular website will let you use its features. And if you are not giving the correct credentials, it will not allow. It will ask you to pass the correct credentials so that it can authenticate you. So there we are doing decision making. Like if this particular person is giving the correct credentials, we will run this code for him. And if it's not giving the current credentials, we are going to run this particular code for him. So there we are doing decision making. And in programming, how we can do that decision making? For that, we use if these particular statements, like the if, else if, or even we can use the switch. So we'll discuss all of these one by one. What is the syntax, how we can use them. So let's see how we can use them. First of all, let's talk about if. So if you talk about if is a simple conditional statement where what you can do if you have, but if you want to give some condition here, let's say you are taking a number from the user. Okay, so let's say you take some number from the user. Let's say he gives 20. And you want to take one more number from the user. Let's say you take 30 from the user. The user can pass anything. Let's say user passes these two values. And you want to check, let's say the variable name for this is A and for this is B. And you want to check if A is greater than B or not. So for that, what we can do, we can use the if condition. Like if, and we will do this here as a condition. If A is greater than B, then I want to print that this A is greater than B. I want to give a message to the user that the first number that you passed, like the A, is greater than the second number, that's B. So for that, we first use the if clause like this, and then we give the condition like this. And this condition you will always be using a comparison operator, like a greater than, less than, double equal to, or not equal to, or we have the less than equal to or greater than equal to. So you'll be using a particular comparison operator here between two variables, so that the result that will come from here will always be a Boolean value. It can either be a true value or it can be a false value. And it is not necessary that you always have to use comparison operator. You can by yourself give a particular true value here or a false value here. means that the result here should always be a Boolean value. And if the result is true, the code that you put inside this if block will be executed. And if it is false, the code will not be executed in the if block. Let's see how we can use it. What is the syntax? So as I told you, like if statements checks if the particular condition that you are giving, the particular statement that you are passing in the if block is true or false. And that generally we call it a condition. Like to execute this particular code, you have to pass this condition. Like I told you, in particular websites, you give your login credentials. So we give a condition that if these credentials are true, only then you can use this website. So this is what we are doing here. If this condition is true, only then this particular code will be, we can say, executed. So let's talk about else statement. Now we have seen if this condition is true, this particular code will be executed. Now the question is, if the condition is not true, like for example, you are giving the login credentials and you have passed. So now you can use the website and that code will be here, like you have successfully logged in. But what if the credentials were wrong? So you should give some message to the user, like please pass the correct username and password or something else. So at that time, we should have some more block so that which will execute the false condition. So for that, we have the else block. This means if this condition is not fulfilled, then what will happen? The else block will be executed. And we can pass a message here or whatever code we want to execute. In our case that we take the example that we took the example of authentication. Then we will pass some message here that the credentials that you have passed are not correct. So this is how we use if and else. Then we have the else if statement. Else if statement is used when you want to check more than two conditions. We already checked two conditions, like if the particular condition is true, execute this code, the if code. If the condition is false, execute the else code. But what if we want to execute more than two statements? Let's say you take some two numbers, A and B. There can be three conditions. Either A can be greater than B, or A can be less than B, or there is one more condition that A will be equal to B. So we need three conditions. So for that, we will be using an else block. It's not like we can only use three conditions. We can use more than three conditions in else block. We can use as many else blocks as we can. So before we move forward, let's do a practical example on this so that we can understand how we can use these in real life coding. So let's open our Visual Studio and let's create a new project. And we're going to create a console app because we are just beginners here. We're going to learn how we can use these particular things. So the console app is the easiest way for us. And let's name this project something. Let's say we name it Conditionals project, or we can say conditional tutorial. And let's click the next button and create our project. So our project is being created. Let's wait for some time. Yes, so it has been created. Let's first test this project if it is running or not. Let's click Control F5 and this project. Yeah. So we'll see a console screen here with the message hello world. So yes, our project is working here. Hello world has been printed. And now we will see how we can execute these statements here. Let's take a variable int a is equal to, let's say we're taking 20. And let's take one more variable int b is equal to, let's take 30. And I want to check if a is greater than b or not. So how we can do that? We can use the if statement. So we are doing decision making here, like if a is greater than b, if a is greater than b, we want to print console.writeLine a is greater than b. So I want to display this message to the user. For now, let's do one thing. Let's make this 50 so that this condition is true. So now if you can see here, there can be only two values. Either it can be true or it can be false. When this particular condition becomes true, this code will be executed. And if it is false, this code will not be executed. So let's try this out. Let's print this here as well, or let's run it directly. Control F5. Right now the condition is true, so a is greater than b has been printed. Now what if the condition is false? Let's make this 20. So now the condition is false, and what will happen? This code here will not be executed in any way. Let's run it. Control F5. So you can see no statement has been printed here, because there is only one statement in our project, in our program, and when this particular condition becomes false, that particular line will not be printed, or this code will not be executed. So now I want to give some condition to the give some message to the user. Okay, if it's not greater than b, and then there can be one more condition, that else console.writeLine is less than b, or it can be equal to b as well, less than or equal to b. So now if I run this program, now we can see the else part is working. A is less than b or equal to b. Okay, so this is how we can use these conditions here. If a is greater than b, this code will be executed, or this code will be compiled, and if it's not true, then this particular condition will be executed. Now I want to do one more thing. Okay, let me tell the user exactly whether it's a is less than b or it's equal to b. So for that I need one more statement, and I already told you that we have the else if statement, and we use that else if statement in between this if and else. So we will use it here. Else if a is less than b, what will happen? We will console.writeLine a is less than b, and here now what we will do, a is equal to b, because we are sure now. Now if you see here what will happen, first of all, this particular code will be tested, or we can say execution will be here. A is greater than b, a is 20, b is 30. No, it's false. Now what will happen? It will go to the next line. If a is less than b, a is less than b. Yes, it's true. What will happen? This line of code will be executed, and then it will be skipped automatically. There is no need to execute this. Now if I run this, you will see the second line, a is less than b, will be printed. Okay, so now what will happen if we make these two equal, 20 and 20? Again, the code will start from here. A is greater than b, no, it's false. It will go to the next statement. A is less than b, no, it's again false. What will happen? Automatically this else block will be executed, because there is only one condition left now. It can be equal to b. Yeah, a is equal to b. So this is how we can use the conditional statements, if, else if, and else block. You can use as many else if blocks here as you want. So then we have the concept of switch statement. Now switch is, you can use it as an alternative to else if blocks. I told you that you can use as many else blocks as you want. But what actually happens there is the code becomes a little, we can say, cumbersome. It becomes jumbled there. So for that, what we can use, we can use the switch statement. Its syntax is easier to use and you can use as many statements as you want. So let's say you are taking some value from the user. Let's say you want to display and the day to your user. You are taking a number from the user, like say if the user passes 1, you want to print that it's Monday. If the user passes 2, you want to say it's Tuesday. In the same way, if the user passes 7, you want to say it's Sunday. So you want to display the date to the user based on the input. So how we can do that using this switch case? Let's see that. Let's comment this out, or let's remove it. We have already checked this out. So let's take the value from the user first. Int day is equal to, at the end you will be using the console.readline to take the input from the user. For now, I will take some hard code value here. Let's say I am taking 5, and I want to check which day is this 5. So what we can do, we will use the switch statement here. Switch, and I am taking this day here. Then in the switch we have cases, like case 0. And in case 0, what I will do, I will console.write line, it will be Monday. In the same way, we will have here a statement called break. Break is basically a jump statement, which actually is used to break some particular condition. Let's say I want if the particular day matches this particular case. Let's say I have passed 0 here, so it will match here. So there is no need to check forward later on cases. What I will do, I will use this break statement. What will happen? It will come out of the statement and the execution will be here. If there is some code, it will be executed. If there is no code, the program will end automatically. In the same way, we will have more cases here. We will have the case 1, and in case 1 we will have, let's say, Tuesday. And then again we will have break statement here. And then we will have case 2, console.write line, Wednesday. We'll have break statement here. And one more thing, the cases will start from 1. Obviously the days start from 1. It does not start with 0. So we'll be using the case 3 here. Case 4, console.write line, Thursday, and it will be a break statement here. And so on we will be doing for the other cases here. I will not be writing all the cases here. Let's say the user passes 3. What will happen actually? First it will check this case. Obviously 1 is not equal to 3. So it will be skipped. It will go to the second case. Obviously it will not match again. Then the third case will match with this value and we will get the result Wednesday. And now obviously I don't want to check forward because I have got my answer. I have got my message to user. So what will happen? It will break. Like it will get out of this loop, out of this particular statement, switch statement. And this is how we use the switch case. You will be writing other cases here by yourself. You will try that out. Now there is one more case here that's important, and that's the default case. Obviously I will be writing the 7 cases here, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, because we only have 7 days in a week. Now what if the user passes some other value? Let's say user passes 9. So I don't have a value for it. But I have to give some message to user like please pass the correct input. Or even user can pass a negative number. You are not sure about the user. He can pass -1. He can pass -30. He can pass 100. So I want to give him a message that please pass the correct input. You can only pass values from 1 to 7. So for that we have a case what we call the default case. And again it will work in the same way. Like for example, please pass the correct value. And again it will have a break case as well. This will work like a default case. Like if none of these cases work, by default this default case will work for it. The name automatically says that it's a default case. So this is how we use the switch statement. We already saw how we can use the if statement, how we can use else statement. And one more thing I want to say here, that you can only use else statement with the if statement. And else statement cannot exist without an if statement. An if statement can exist, I already showed you. You can only write an if statement. But for an else statement, you need an, we can say, if statement. So this is how we can use it. Our next thing that we are going to talk about is about loops. So loops is also an important topic that we use in almost most of the programs. Uh, let's take a simple example where you can use loops and what is loop. Loop is basically uh, a particular concept where you want to repeat some code n number of times. So for that we can use loops. Let's take a simple example. Let's say you want to print numbers from 1 to 100. So you have to write 100 line of code. Console.write line 1, console.write line 2. And this is not, we can say, automatic. You have to hard code it by yourself. What if you want to do this in 3 lines of code, 5 lines of code? So for that we use loops. When you want to repeat some particular lines of code, for that we can use the concept of loops. Let's take a real world example where you can use it. Let's say I have a list of employees in my database. Let's say I have 100 employees. So I want to print those 100 employees to the user. I want to display them. So obviously I will not be going to the database and printing them one by one. Check it there and print it one by one. Console.write line. The first user is this, second user is this. So for that, what we can use the concept of loops. What will loops do? Loops will automatically loop to the whole database and print all the particular, we can say, data or records. So that is the concept of loops. And we majorly have 3 types of loops. We have for loop here, we have for loop, we have while loop, and we have do while loop. All of these we can use to print some particular statement n number of times. And the statement can be same and it can be different as well. We will see that how we can use it. And each of these loops has some differences. Like obviously they all are used for the same cause, like to repeat some code. But there are little differences here, like when we will use while, when we will use for, when we will use do while. So let's check this out. Let's first explore the for loop. For loop, you use it obviously to, I already told you, to print some particular statement or execute some code multiple times. And the syntax for it is, we first have to use the for keyword, then there will be initialization in our particular loop. Then we will have some condition. Obviously the loop should stop at some time. So for that we give a condition. Obviously if this condition is met, the loop will stop. And then we have updation, like you are checking that condition and you will be checking that condition on some variable. So to stop the loop we need condition, and we are using that condition on a variable, so we need to update that variable step by step, so that at one point the condition will met and the loop will stop. And in these braces we write our particular line of code that we want to print. So in while loop, so in for loop we use first initialization, we use then condition, and then we use updation. And generally we use this loop when you know how many times your code will run. Let's say you know your code will run 5 times. So you'll give the condition here. For example, you are taking a variable int I is equal to 1 and I less than 5 or 6, you will say the condition. So at that time you know how many times your code will run. So at that time what will you do? You will use the for loop. Now there is a condition. Obviously sometimes you will not be able to know how many times the loop should run. So for that we have the while loop. In while loop we first write the condition, then we write the code, and inside this code we write our updation. In this particular case, our initialization, our condition, and our updation was in the same line. But for the while loop, our condition is in a separate line and our updation is in a separate line. Our initialization will be in a separate line above this while loop. Basically we will see that how it will work. And it will we can say the flow will be in the same way. Like if the condition is met, the loop will break and you will no longer repeat this code again. And then we have the do while loop. Do while loop is a little bit tricky. It's just like while loop, but in while loop what can happen? The condition will be met for the first time. Let's say you are checking a variable I, you are taking the value from the user, and you want to check if I is less than 5, only then this loop should run. What if the user for the first time passes 6? Obviously 6 is not less than 5, so this code will run never. But in do while loop, what will happen? The code is executed, then the condition is checked. Like if I am passing some condition here, first this code will run, only then the condition will be checked. What will happen at the end? This code will run at least once. At least. I'm not saying max to max. It depends on the condition, but at least it will, whatever happens, it will run for the first time. It will run once. That is the difference between while and do while. So let's first try this out. How we can use it? Let's go to our code. Let's remove this code from here and we will test the for loop first. Let's take a simple example. Let's say you want to print this hello world 5 times or 10 times. In a manually, what you will do, you will write console.write line 10 times, and that will take 10 lines of code. That will take you some time. So for that, we will be using a for loop. First of all, let's say for, and right now we know how many times our code will run. Let's say it runs 10 times. So what I will do, I will first take a variable int I is equal to 0. It's not necessary that you have to use the I here. You can name anything here. But I is like it's used commonly in loops because I stands for iterator. You're iterating something, you are looping something. And then we have this colon here. After that, this is the initialization part that we have done. We have the condition part now. I told you I want to run this code 10 times. I will say I less than 10. And then I have the updation. Obviously, this particular line should be incremented so that at one time this condition will be met and this loop will break. Then we have the code body where we'll be writing our code console.write line. Let's say I want to print hello world. Now what will happen if I run this code? Hello world will be printed 10 times as expected. Let's see what comes the result. Okay, so here is the result. And this hello world, if you will count this, it will be exactly for 10 times. From 0 to 9, including 0, it will be 10 times. So this is how we can run our code using for loop. You can even use if you want to print numbers. I will print this I here. So for the first time, I will be 0. Okay, let's see the flow of this program, how this flow works. First of all, initialization will be done. I is 0. Then the condition will be checked. If I is less than 10, yes, it is 10, less than 10. So what will happen? It will go to this, we can say, console.write line part. And it will print I. I is 0, so I0 will be printed. Then the increment will happen. So I will become from 0 to 1. And then the condition will be checked. If 1 is less than 10, yes, it is true condition. It will again go here and print our value. Then again the same thing will happen. I will become 3, he will be checked. If it's true, if it is less than 10, only then this particular thing will happen. And if it's not 10, if it is false, the loop will break. Let's say I increments to 10. Okay, I is 10 now. So I is 10. Is 10 less than 10? No, it's not. It's equal to 10. So this condition becomes false and this loop will break here. This means this I will be printed only till 9. If we run it, you can see it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So only 9 numbers have been printed here. Basically 10 numbers have been printed, but the counting is still 9. So this is how the for loop works. After that, we have the while loop. In while loop, we do the initialization in a separate line. Let's say int I is equal to, we can initialize it with anything. Let's say 0. And then we have the while loop, the condition part, where we will be checking the condition. If I is less than 10, then what I want to do, I want to print console.writeLine this I. And obviously we want to do the updation so that at some point of time, this loop should break. Let's say what if the thing happens that I forgot to write the updation part, like the I++ part or something. What will happen? Let's try to run it. If you see here, the 0 is printed infinite number of times, and it goes on, right? So it's important to write some updation part here so that at some point of time this condition becomes false and the loop should break. So we will do here I++. If you notice, we have done initialization in a separate part, we have checked the condition in a separate part, and we have updated the value in a separate part. So this is how we can use a while loop. Now if we run this program, you will see a finite number here, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 and up to 9. And now the question is, which loop should you use generally? For easier syntax, you can use the for loop. It's compact, it takes less lines of code. But if you want more control over your code, you want to check conditions and other things inside this particular line of code, and you want to update the value based on conditions. In simple words, we can say you want more control in the user side. So at that time, we will be using the while loop. So this is about while loop. Now the question is, what if this 10 initially becomes I initially becomes 10? So now the I becomes 10, it will initialize it to 10. Then the condition will be checked, is 10 less than 10? No, it's not. Obviously, what will happen? No line of code will be printed. Like I will not be printed in any way because the condition is initially false. But what if you want to run the loop at least once? For that, we have the concept of do while loop. Let's try it out. So first of all, we have the do part here. And in do, we'll write our code. What code we want, we can say which part you want to print. Let's say console.writeLine, I want to print I. You have to write your code here. And then after do, we will have a while part, the condition part. If I less than 10, then this loop should break. Now what will happen if I run this program? Now at this time, the loop will run up to 10. It's going up to 0. The reason behind this is we have forgotten to write the updation part. So you can see it's up to 0 to 9. Now what will happen if I do the initialization with 10? Like this. What should happen? Now at this time, the loop should run at least once. You can see the 10 has been printed here. So this is the difference between while and do while. We have done the same part with the while part as well. We initialized I with 10, but the code did not run because the condition was initially false. But what happens with do while? The code runs at least once. So this was about the do while loop. So this is all about conditional statements and loops. So let's summarize this. First of all, we saw what conditional statements do. It helps us with decision making. Then we checked the different, or we learned the different types of conditional statements. Like we have the if, we have else, we have else if, and we also did some practice with switch, how we can use it to handle different conditions. After that, we learned the concept of loops, why to work with loops, how to avoid repetitive tasks and other things. And then we saw the types of loops, like we have the for loop, we have while loop and do while loop. And we also saw some difference between these for, while and do while loop. Now at the end, I have a lab for you. You will be creating a simple number guessing game. Let's say you will take some input from the user and that user you will check with a number in your program where you will get that number. In basically C#, we have a particular class, random class, which will help you generate some random number, and that random number you check whether user that the number that user has passed, if it's equal to that random number, then you have to give a message to the user that you have won this game, or if the number that the user has passed is not equal to the random number, then you should give a message that you failed. You can also extend this task by letting the user give some 5 attempts. If the user manages to guess the number in the 5 attempts, so you can say you have passed the game. If he fails, then at the end you can say you have failed the game. And then there is one more lab for you where you will be creating a menu driven console app using the switch case. Now, what is a menu driven app console app? You will be creating some application. Let's say you want to create a calculator. So you will be taking some input from the user, whether he wants to add the numbers, he wants to subtract the numbers, he wants to multiply the numbers, and based on his input, you will add the two numbers or you will subtract the two numbers, and that's what is actually about the console-based switch case application. So this was all about this session. We will see some more concepts in next session. So this particular course is just going to be a crash course. If you want to learn deeply the particular C# program, C#, we can say C# programming. For that, you can check the whole course on our Udemy course. So you will get the deep dive knowledge in that course. If you have any confusion, so that all confusion will be, we can say, you can clear those confusions there. So that was all about this session. Let's see you in the next session. Till then, goodbye and take care.